While everybody's finding a seat, if I could remind everybody to please silence their cell phones. Good evening, my name is Dan Brandeis. I am the Foundation Director for the Jewish Community Foundation of the Jewish Federation of Greater Pittsburgh, and I'm happy to welcome you here tonight. I know we have some family members of those who were lost on October 27th, and we want to most especially welcome them here tonight. If everybody could please rise.
Joyce Feinberg.
Richard Gottfried.
Rose Mallinger.
Jerry Rabinowitz.
Cecil Rosendahl.
David Rosenthal.
Bernice Simon.
Sylvan Simon.
Daniel Stein.
Melvin Wax.
Irving Younger.
Please remain standing for the Star-Spangled Banner. Please be seated.
Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai Roi Lo Echzar, Binodesha Yardiseni, Omei Menuchot V'Nahaleni. Hashem is my shepherd, I am content. God leads me to rest in the sweet grasses, to lie down by the quiet waters, and I am refreshed. God leads me down the right path, the path that unwinds in the pattern of the name. And though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will not be afraid, for you are with me. comforting me with your rod and your staff, showing me each step. You prepare a table for me in the midst of my suffering. You moisten my head with oil. Surely my cup is overflowing, and goodness and kindness will follow me all the days of my life. And in the long days beyond, I will live where you dwell forever.
שיר למעלות, וסייני אל ההרים, מאין יבוא עזרי. Some 3,000 years ago, our psalmist asked the question, I turn my eyes to the mountains, from where will my help come? Certainly over the course of the past 30 days, we have seen and lived and experienced the answer. The psalmist says it all comes from God. I think we know that God works through the people in Pittsburgh all around us. My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber. See, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. For Adonai is your guardian, Adonai is your protection at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you from all harm. God will guard your life. Adonai yishmor tzeitcha v'oacha me'ata v'ad olam. Adonai will guard your going and your coming, now and forevermore.
We rise for Kel Malay Rachamim.
Malay Rachamim, Shochen Mamrim, Amitzei Menucha Nichona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, B'malot Shloshim U'Taharim Kizar Rakia Mazirim Et Nishmat Echad Esrei Kedoshim Shemasru et Nafsham Kiddush Hashem Iris Bulcha Bat Abba Menachem Yehuda ben Yechezkel David ben Eliezer, Chaim ben Eliezer, Yizchak Chaim ben Menachem, Daniel Avram ben Baruch, Reisel bat Avraham, Yosef ben Chaim, Bel Rachel bat Moshe, Zalman Shachna ben Menachem Mendel, Moshe Gadol ben Yosef. Gan Eden Temenuchatam Ahana Ba'arachamim Hastireim Beseter Knafecha Leolamim Utzror Bitzror Rachayim Et Nishmatehem Adonai hu nachalatam v'yanuchu b'shalom על משכבותיהם, ונאמר
Allow me to introduce Lisa Steindel, who's representing Naamat, the other Jewish organization besides the 3 congregations that had its offices at the Tree of Life building.
In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember them. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember them. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we will remember them. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we will remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember them. And when we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them.
Please rise for Kaddish. Skadil Kaddish Shmei Rabbah. Yomad Livra Kirusei Yamlich Malchusei. Chayechon Uv'Yamechon Uv'Chay B'Chol Beis Yisrael. Ba'adala Uv'Zman Kariv V'Imru. Amen Yehei Shmei Rabbah Barach. Yolam Yomel Maya. Sparach Yishtabach Yispa'ar Yisramam Yisnaseh. Is Hadar, is Alev, is Halal, Shmei Kudsha, Richu, Le'ela min kol birchasa v'shirasa, Tush v'chasa v'nechamasa, Da'amran be'olmav yimru, Amen. Yehei sh'amarama v'nishmaya, V'chayim aleinu, Ya'kol Yisrael yimru, Amen. Oseh shalom v'ma, Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, Ya'kol Yisrael yimru, Amen.
Prayer for the sick, led by Anne Marie Meisel of Congregation Dor Hadash.
We turn now to pray for those who were injured on October 27th. We are particularly grateful that Andrea Wedner, one of those injured, is here with us tonight. We continue to pray for her ongoing recovery, as well as for Dan Legger, who remains in treatment. And we pray as well for the brave Pittsburgh officers who sustained injuries that day: Daniel Mead, Michael Smiga, Anthony Burke, Timothy Matson, John Person, Tyler Peschel. Mi sheberach avoteinu v'kol habracha l'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekol habracha avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let
30 days have passed. 30 days since the serenity of a Squirrel Hill Shabbat morning was shattered by an anti-Semitic attack on one of our synagogues, 3 of our congregations. 30 days since Dor Hadash, New Light, and Tree of Life lost 11 members in the most horrifying way imaginable. 30 days since families in our community were separated from precious, irreplaceable loved ones whose absence is the source of deep, abiding pain. 30 days since some suffered life-changing injuries. 30 days since we started down the path together of a communal period of mourning for all that we have lost. A heavy sorrow and a sense of violation have accompanied us during these last 30 days. But something else has been with us as well. And I know that you have experienced it just as deeply as I have. A profound gratitude for the outpouring of love, caring, and dedication to our well-being that has carried us and strengthened us. Just as we've been witness to an act of horrific evil, we have also been witness to tens of thousands of acts of great goodness. In ways big and small, individuals and groups, both close by and continents away, have reached out to help us, to hold us and to support us in the most extraordinary and profound ways. I want to mention just a few. First, there is no doubt that on October 27th, lives were saved by the heroic courage and selflessness of our region's first responders. Nobody could have asked more from these brave and devoted men and women than what they gave that day. There are no words that are adequate to express our admiration and regard for what they did. A few of those first responders are present here this evening, and I'd like to ask them to rise so we can recognize them. Since the moment of the attack, our city and region have been constantly by our side, going far beyond the call of duty. Mayor Peduto, County Executive Rich Fitzgerald, Representative Dan Frankel are all here with us tonight, as they have been with us for the last 30 days, and as they will be with us long into the future. We're thankful to each of you and your staffs and the other elected officials for your exemplary leadership and for all that you have done and for your unswerving commitment to us when we needed you the most. Also joining us tonight is Deputy Consul General from New York, Israel Nitzan. Thank you so much for being here. Your presence reminds us of the heartwarming, magnificent outpouring of support from Israelis and from the Jewish people literally around the world. In the midst of deep sorrow, the Jewish people rallied powerfully and in a way that reminded us all that nothing and nobody make us afraid to live our lives as proud and devoted Jews. On the topic of devoted Jews, I want to highlight the work of 2 very special teams in our community, the Chevra Kadisha of Pittsburgh and the new community Chevra Kadisha. These 2 groups took care of looking after the dead and tending to the synagogue space in the most loving way possible. I cannot name the individuals involved because this is a selfless Jewish commitment that is done without any expectation of thanks. But those who serve us in this way should know that we are in awe of what you did for us over the last few weeks and the holy work that you continue to carry out. In the month gone by, it's been said time and time again what an extraordinary Jewish community we live in. None of it is exaggeration or hyperbole. If you needed proof, the The last 30 days have demonstrated it beyond a shadow of a doubt. And it begins with the amazing examples of Jewish professionals in our midst. It's not just the Federation staff and the JCC staff and the Jewish Family and Community Services staff. Jewish professionals across this community from different organizations went the extra mile and more for this community without hesitation and with very little rest over the last 30 days. To say that we are blessed to have them is truly an understatement. Last, let me express words of deep appreciation to all the individuals and organizations in Pittsburgh and beyond who have written cards and letters, held fundraisers, sent checks, donated services, offered help, or promised assistance. Just one example. We're here in this room tonight because the Marriott team reached out to us and offered and donated the facility, as well as personnel and rooms when we needed them. And that's just one illustration among countless, countless others of the breathtaking, touching kindness that has been afforded us. We are so, so thankful. Tonight, we're here to begin to move forward as we reaffirm life. There is much comforting and healing and cooperating and rebuilding that lies ahead. But we discovered during the last 30 days one simple truth. We are truly stronger together. As we remember all that we have lost, let's move forward in that spirit. The Pittsburgh Jewish community, always stronger together. Thank you.
We are honored to have the Deputy Consul General of Israel, Mr. Israel Nitzan, with us tonight. He flew in from New York to join us to mark the ending of Shloshim, and I invite him to speak to us now.
Thank you. Thank you. The vicious anti-Semitic attack on October 27th at the Tree of Life Synagogue took 11 individuals from us. They were our brothers and sisters. They were there to observe Shabbat. They were active members of their respective congregations. Their loss leaves a hole that cannot be filled. It's important for me, it's important for the consulate, it's important for the state of Israel to be here with you today as we remember their memory 30 days after the attack. We honor their memory by calling out anti-Semitism by name. And in doing so, standing up against its incidents. Over the last month, the world has learned a lot about the Jewish community of Pittsburgh. I have to say that I learned a lot about the Jewish community in Pittsburgh. A community that is close-knit and welcoming, and takes pride in its values of tolerance and pluralism. These values emanate throughout the city of Pittsburgh. Tree of Life Synagogue is a sacred place that is the home of 3 congregations. Tree of Life Synagogue, Tree of Life, Congregation Dor Hadash, and New Light. It offers a model of different streams of Jewish life coming together. It's a space that epitomizes the unity we strive for. Its role here, Reformed, Conservative, and Orthodox Jews share Jewish homes, social networks, and institutions. We know that this attack was not against one way to be Jewish or against one movement. It was against being Jewish at all. I'm inspired by the responses to this act of hate within the Jewish community and by our friends in other faith-based communities, and throughout the city of Pittsburgh. Across the nation and across the world, communities followed Pittsburgh's lead and showed the strength of unity in the face of anti-Semitism. Tens of thousands took part in a campaign called Show Up for Shabbat. We live in New York. I have to tell you that I haven't seen anything like that when the synagogues were just crowded with people from different communities, Jews, non-Jews. It was very impressive. Leading and taking actually the steps following your way. Synagogues during this weekend welcomed those of all faiths. This incredible demonstration of solidarity showed that what took place was not only an assault on the Jewish community, it was also an assault on the values that we all hold dear. Pittsburgh's Partnership Together region of Carmiel and Misgav in Israel has a special and close bond with the community here. The people of Carmiel and Misgav and throughout Israel, the state of Israel, mourn with you today and stand with you always. I should mention here also the work of Israeli civil society, of the work of many Israelis who actually took the initiative to support the community. Here, the work of the Israel Trauma Coalition that hasn't yet ended. We're still in touch. They are still in touch with the Federation, and we appreciate their work very much. Our pain continues to be felt deeply as we complete the 30 days after this horrific event. We will continue to offer our support in times of pain as well as in times of rejoicing. We will continue to look to the community as an example of love, care, and welcoming. And I thank you again for asking for our participation here in this very important event. Thank you.
Direct your attention to the video screens for a message from Rabbi Sacks.
The community in Pittsburgh, thank you so much for allowing me to add my voice to the many that will be heard this day and in these times as we seek to stand with you in your grief, your trauma, but at the same time to begin that process of healing and turning back to life, which is what Avelut, what Jewish mourning is all about. You experienced the worst terrorist attack on Jews in American Jewish history. And there are no words for your tears and grief, but I hope you felt, as I certainly felt here in England, comforted by the fact that virtually the whole Jewish world, virtually every community around the Jewish world, mourned with you. I've never seen such coming together. And every single shul in Britain dedicated a Shabbat to remembering with you. And I hope to some extent you have felt that Tzarat Rabim Chatzi Nechama, that the fact that so many people have joined you is, in a sense, half a consolation. What I would really say now, as we reach the Shloshim, we move from the immediacy of grief to the beginning of distance of memory and commemoration. that you bear in mind one very, very striking fact about Judaism. The whole business of remembering Yizkor, the ceremony in which we remember those we have lost, and that command, Zachor, remember, are central to Judaism. The word remember occurs no less than 169 times in the Hebrew Bible. It's a key verb. In every other culture, remembering is about the past. But if you look at the 3 occasions in the book of Genesis where the word Vayizkor, and he remembered, occurs, you will discover this. Here are the 3 instances. Vayizkor Elokim et Noach. God remembered Noah and brought him out of the ark onto dry land to begin again. Vayizkor Elokim et Abraham. God remembered Abraham and rescued his nephew Lot from the destruction of Sodom. Vayizkor Elokim et Rachel. God remembered Rachel and gave her a child. In Judaism, all remembering is about the future and about life. And there's a reason for that. Because we cannot change the past. But by remembering it, we can change the future. And that, I think, is what the Shloshim marks. The moment you turn from past to future, from grief to positive commemoration of those 11 brave and holy souls who died. The truth is, what they died for, we must now live for. And we have known, so long as we lived with hate, that you can only cure hate with love. You can only cure violence with peace. And you can only cure death by a rededication, a celebration, and a sanctification of life. May the Pittsburgh Jewish community be strengthened in its embrace of life. May it honor the memory of those who died by rededicating itself to the strengthening of Jewish life. We will always remember them, and we will always admire you for your strength, your courage, your ability to remember and turn that painful memory into blessings in the future. May God bless you all and send you comfort and strength. Amen.
Let me say a few words about the Clarion Quartet while they are setting up. The Clarion Quartet restores to life music by composers whose works were once banned. The force of political oppression denied these composers their rightful place in the chamber music repertoire, but now their rediscovery serves as a clarion call, giving voice to works of genius. We are very grateful that the Clarion Quartet has agreed to bring their special music to us tonight.
We're so honored to be part of this event and to bring you music of healing, music by 2 composers who dedicated their lives to bringing the world music after the first composer, Mstislav Weinberg, lost his family at age 19 and was exiled from Warsaw. He dedicated his entire life after to bringing the world this gorgeous music. The other piece we'll play afterwards is the beautiful Israeli song, Eli, Eli, arranged for string quartet by the Israeli composer who lives today and who also lost his family to the Holocaust as a son of survivors. His name is Boris Pigobat. So where there are no more words, there's always music.
O Lord my God, I pray that these things never end, that a community comes together to strengthen each other, as this community has done so magnificently, so beautifully, so touchingly over the last 30 days. None of us will ever forget where we were when we first heard the news. None of us will ever quite put beyond memory the way we felt, the shock, the horror, the sense of vulnerability. But tonight I want to suggest that as we recall that moment, that day, and what unfolded thereafter, let us resolve tonight to couple those memories with a specific, defined act of goodness that you also carry with you from the weeks gone by. Not just a general people were nice to us notion, but call to mind one specific event, one act, one instance of profound human decency, and couple it in your mind always with that recollection of where you were. Because that, my dear friends, is the Jewish way. Never to let sorrow and horror stand alone. Always to understand that we move within the course of our lives from darkness to light. That we are the people determined to bring light into this world, and most particularly to the lives of those with whom we share this community. Our ancestor Jacob lay down in the darkest night of his life and suffered an injury that would be with him for the rest of his days. He would limp thereafter, always remembering what had happened to him. But the Torah is clear on the sequence of events. After that dark night, after the injury, the sun rose upon him. He greeted a new dawn and went on to be Israel. We too have sustained injury. We too have known darkness. But tonight we affirm that there will be a new dawn, and that we will greet it as Israel. And let me say one thing about the dawn. It breaks slowly, unevenly. It's not the same for every person. The dawn comes in fits and starts. But sooner or later, the darkness is replaced by light. Our memories sustain us. Our memories call to mind all those that we have lost. But we will be Israel, limping on into the new dawn. When we thought about who it would be, who would best help us at this moment of transition from the most intense parts of mourning to facing tomorrow, it was clear that Erica Brown would be the right person to invite. I'm not going to read her bio, you have it in front of you. I'm simply going to say that this is a moment when the Jewish people fundamentally, always, historically, has turned to Torah. And Erica is a master teacher, a leader of the Jewish people, and a mensch. And who could ask for more than that? Erica Brown.
A long time ago, across a mighty ocean, a pious man shouldered the sorrows of the world. Many of those he loved had died. He was ill and deeply confused. With the last of his savings, he traveled many days to see his Rebbe, his rabbi. You see, this man, this chassid, had always lived with strict ritual observance and intense belief. When his world began to collapse and his faith started to totter, he felt there was only one place to go, to his teacher and his mentor, to seek an explanation for his great troubles. He arrived at the Rebbe's court to understand why all of this befell him. He was escorted into the Rebbe's study, and he saw the Rebbe's radiant face. The chassid poured out his heart. He cried and he shared his catalog of woes. Why, Rebbe? Why is this happening to me? Why? When he finished, the two, one standing, the other sitting, were enveloped in silence. The chassid waited and waited for the Rebbe's verdict. Nothing but silence. The chassid was about to take leave of the Rebbe, feeling more dejected and isolated than ever. Suddenly and without a word, the Rebbe got up, walked around his desk, and stood next to his disciple. He held his hand and gently said, "My son, my dear one, I cannot explain why all these tragedies happened to you. No one can. If anyone tries, they are spinning falsehoods. All I can do is stand with you in your suffering. I am not a chassid. I am not a Rebbe. I have no disciples. I have not been through the anguish you all suffered. I, like many of you, was born in Pittsburgh, but I was not raised here. And I was not in the Tree of Life synagogue. But I am the daughter and granddaughter of Holocaust survivors who never thought this could happen in their America. And I'm here to tell you, to stand with you, to tell you that we are all one family, not only one Jewish family, one human family. I represent thousands of people around this country and around the world, Jews and non-Jews, who simply want to stand with you in your suffering, because that's what a family does. And in crisis, it's what we do best. In families, we know who shows up for us. We note presence. The Rebbe taught the chassid the gift of simple presence. It was up to him now to be present when others suffered. In Jewish law, Both joy and suffering follow a similar pattern of intensity and incremental change. There is a time for each. As Ecclesiastes Kohelet wisely says, Eit livkot ve'et lischok, eit svod ve'et rakud. A time for weeping, a time for laughing, a time for dancing. There's a holiness to the emotions. When we experience them, we must do so fully. There are laws related to the joy one generates around a wedding. On the day of the wedding, the week that follows, the month that follows, and the year that follows. Joy is not to be experienced in one day and shelved. It is to be savored. It must linger. We move from peak intensity to a slow, simmering happiness for a couple as they launch their new lives. When it comes to mourning, there are laws the days of a funeral, the day of a funeral, the shiva week after, the commemoration or shloshim later, and the recitation of a Kaddish the year after. Judaism's great wisdom is helping people move from one stage to the next, honoring their dead through ritual that allows mourners to hold on to the pain while helping them slowly let go. But we never truly let go of the great traumas that shape us. And so we commemorate a yortzeit annually. For as long as we live, we will always say a prayer for those who are no longer with us. The sensitivity to a mourner's emotional landscape is encapsulated in two Jewish laws of mourning. During Shiva, the mourner always speaks first, not the visitor. The mourner determines the emotional temperature of the moment, and if the mourner does not want to speak at all, because of the horror, because of the pain, the two sit in silence. This silence is the silence of the Rebbe in our story. He understood that words can betray, and words can sometimes belittle the depth of our most difficult struggles. Silence in the face of tragedy is often the more noble and honest response. But the Rebbe understood something even more powerful, the power of presence. We do not let people suffer alone. We show up, we hold a hand, we make the space sacred simply by being there together. And when the Shiva period is over, we invite the mourner to walk around the block, to step outside, symbolically joining the world again. And here too, we do not let the mourner walk alone, because re-entry can be much harder than sitting together in the shelter of sacred memories, in the comfort of a home. We walk the mourner outside because it is time to reaffirm life. It is time to rejoin the living. But who, I ask you, can really rejoin a shattered world, what the mystics call the Alma de Peruda, a universe of separation and brokenness? On the day of the funeral, it seems impossible to begin mourning. On the last day of Shiva, it seems equally impossible to end it. We all know that sometimes the darkest moments of mourning are when everyone leaves. And the wise organizers of this commemoration understood that a month later is precisely when the hardest emotional work begins. They brought us together in this room. We're here to strengthen broken hearts that they may beat again. We're here to acknowledge and to honor the incredible unity that's been created in the wake of this tragedy. We're here to hold each other's hands without the platitude that it will be all right, because it won't. We cannot bring back the 11 precious souls who are no longer with us. We must name evil and dedicate ourselves to fight it. We cannot be afraid of expressing our outrage. At the same time, our mourning teaches us the wisdom and softness of vulnerability. And we must stand in the awe of the words of the psalmist, Olam chesed yibaneh, the world is held up by kindness. I must tell you that this afternoon, while waiting through a 5-hour delay, a young man spoke to me traveling to Pittsburgh that he was coming here on business, and he asked me what I was doing, and I shared it with him. The flight was canceled. A few of us rushed to try to get on another flight. There were hardly any seats. He saw me and said, "I got a seat. I'm giving it to you." Fortunately, I got the last seat on the plane, and we both got to Pittsburgh. For the past month, you have been held up by kindness. So when the man says to me, what you're doing here is so much more important than what I'm doing, I know that he doesn't know the half of the kindness that has held you up. The author, David Gelernter, once wrote, if you insert into this weird slot machine of modern life one evil act, 1,000 acts of kindness tumble out. Just as we extend mourning and don't rush to normalcy, let us be grateful for the 1,000 acts of kindness that were precipitated by this tragedy. Please let them continue. With each kindness, we honor those who died. I'd like to conclude with the opening of a poem by Wallace Stevens. I believe it captures what it means to transition back to life, to embrace life and to celebrate it, while carrying all of our wounds, our limp. After the final no, there comes a yes. And on that yes, the future world depends. No was the night. Yes is this present sun. Yes is this present sun. Yes, light is on its way. We are a week away from Hanukkah. In the wake of this tragedy, let it be the most powerful and meaningful Hanukkah of our lives. If you have never lit a menorah, I encourage you to do so this year, to move from the Shiva candles to the Hanukkah candles. With each night, with each candle, with each act of light, we tell the world that darkness has a cure. Be the light.
Shulchan Aruch, it is taught that one who meets a friend who is a mourner within the 30 days of mourning should offer the grieving one words of consolation, but does not extend to that person a greeting of peace, meaning one should not say shalom to the mourner. After 30 days, one may again resume saying shalom to that person. And the question, of course, is why? Here's the reason. One doesn't wish a mourner peace, for they have so little of it until 30 days have passed. We learn from this that our teachers believed that something momentous changes at that 30-day mark. Rabbi Chaim Schreiber explains why 30 days matters so much. The Jewish calendar is based on the moon. Just as the moon waxes and wanes in the cyclical period, the 30 days of mourning are an opportunity for the closing of a full emotional circle. The process begins with loss, and the first days of Shiva, when one can't even see a smallest glimmer of light. With the passing of time, the light returns in stages and waxes more and more. 30 days is an important period of time, a time for renewal of life and a little more light. It isn't that we stop mourning after Shloshim has passed. In fact, tradition tells us to wish a mourner our condolences for a full cycle of Jewish holidays. Rather, the end of Shloshim marks the beginning of living a new reality. And that is where we find ourselves at this moment. So tonight, we end by wishing each other shalom. Though our world has changed, we pray that going forward, we will once more experience true shalom, a sense of wholeness and a sense of peace. In a week in which this Shloshim comes to an end, we wish shalom to all of you. And now I ask you to rise for Hatikvah.
Thank you all for being here tonight. May we all be blessed with shalom.